Hello everyone, it's Gwen, and today I want to go through my TBR for the September Magical Readathon for Orilium and the Novice Path. So I'll start with the kind of must finish in September. You technically only need to do 2 of them, but I'm going to try and do all of the prompts. They are the points in the journey of getting to the academy before your character starts their time in the academy. This, for reference, this is my character, Xeria. She is an urban earthling from Earthavia. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's the city she's from. I'm going to try and also get to the character building prompts. Those don't need to be done until like April, but I am going to try and get them done in September. So as far as the prompts to do in September, the first one is the Novice Path entrance, and the prompt is to read a book with a map. For that one, I am continuing on my Warriors read with Warriors Fire and Ice. This is the 2nd book of the series. Every book has 2 maps in it, so they show the land from like the cat's perspective with like their clans and what they call things, and then it shows it from the 2-legger human perspective of like what we would call them, like the highway and so-and-so's farm and that sort of thing. If you're unfamiliar with the Warrior series, this is about a house cat named Rusty who meets wild forest cats in the forest outside his home and learns that there are these clans of cats in the forest that train to be warriors. They fight amongst themselves, have alliances with each other, hunt for themselves, and are just wild and free, and he's not happy with his life as a house cat, and he ends up impressing the leader and being able to join the clan. This is like upper middle grade, definitely a nostalgia read for me. I had just the sudden need to read the entire Warriors series. I have it all looking beautiful up here. So yeah, I'm just continuing on with my read. That brings me into the second prompt, which is the Ash-Torn Tree, which is to read a book that's at the top of your TBR. I went ahead and added the 3rd Warriors book, which is Warriors Forest of Secret. These are by Aaron Hunter, by the way. But yeah, just the 3rd book. I'm like 2/3 of the way through it because I'm behind in filming this like after the first week or so of September, so I've already read the first one most of the way to this one. The next prompt is the Mist of Solitude, and the prompt is to read a standalone. I'm choosing The Beauty in Breaking by Michelle Harper. So I have the book in like my work bag to take to work tomorrow, and I don't feel like grabbing it. This is the memoir of Michelle Harper as a Black emergency room physician and her trials and tribulations in life in the emergency room and all of that. I have heard it's very moving with some good points about being a Black doctor, especially in the emergency room environment, and I want to give it a read. Right, next is Ruin of the Sky, and the prompt is to read something that involves ghosts, a haunted house, or the supernatural. So for this prompt, I'm going to read The Girl Who Wasn't There by Kirk Slater. This is a short little novella. This is about a woman in the late Victorian era who goes to work at a home, and when she gets there she finds it's basically empty except for the housekeeper who's maintaining it, and the longer she's there, the more she's finding that the strange housekeeper might not be the only figure haunting the halls. Alright, the next stop is Obsidian Falls, and the prompt for that is to read a thriller or a mystery. And for that, I chose Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And this is, it's been all over BookTube. You've probably heard all about it. This is the story of, what was her name? Noemi Taboada, who is a Mexican debutante, and she gets a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin claiming that her husband is trying to poison her and she needs help. So she goes to the house to try and see what's going on. I think it's kind of a mystery. It's supposed to be very creepy. I've heard kind of mixed reviews on it, but I definitely want to give it a try. It does sound like something I'm gonna love, nice and creepy and spooky, just as we enter spooky season. So I am excited to get to this. The next stop is the Tower of Rumination, and that is to read a 5-star prediction For that, I'm going to read The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is another that you have probably heard unending things about. This is about a basically social worker who is going to a children's home and making sure everything's up to snuff. But the catch is that these children are not normal children, and I believe they're like supernatural, sort of have powers, one of them even being the Antichrist, and I believe it features a gay love story between the social worker and the man who runs the home. But it sounds very cute. I love the premise. It's just enough like a little kind of magicalness that it'll draw me in. I'm aware of the problems surrounding this right now. I was still interested in reading it, and it was gifted to me by the sweet Evie. So I am definitely going to try and get to this month. All right, and the final stop is to get to Orilium Academy, and the prompt for that is to read a book with a school setting. And for that, I'm going to read One of Us is Next by Karen M. McManus. This is the sequel to One of Us is Lying. I believe it's just kind of another group of teenagers in the same school. Someone is trying to be a copycat and copy everything that was going on. Yeah, she's one of my favorite like mystery thriller authors, like for YA stuff. Like, they're not impeccable stories, they're not like the most amazing thing, but they're such fast, fun reads. I've read One of Us is Lying and Two Can Keep a Secret, and I love both of them. They were just really fun rides, so I'm expecting nothing different for this one, and it's set in a high school. Okay, so that's all that I need to do this month. As far as ones I'd like to get to this month, but don't really need to do until April when we're building our characters and getting our teams picked. The prompts to build the character are the setting they're from, and then the city they're from, and their race. So Xeria is from an urban setting, so I'm going to read a book set in a city or town. For that, I have chosen Last Road to the Backwoods by its married couple Sophie and Sophie. I can never remember like their names. Matt and Michelle Sophie. This was a Kickstarter book. This is about someone goes to a town in 1934. It says an unspeakable crime is committed. It's in a town called Archangel in Pennsylvania. A historian goes to try and figure out what transpired and starts kind of teaming up with other people to figure out the mystery, and the more they figure out, the more they find that there's just a truly dark secret in this town. All right, next is the town that she comes from, and I picked Earthavia, and the prompt for that town is to read a book featuring fae or elven characters. For that, my plan is to read The Wicked King by Holly Black. This is the sequel to The Cruel Prince. It's been a while since I read The Cruel Prince, so I'll kind of tuck into this, and if I'm finding I just don't remember enough of what happened, I'll just pick up The Cruel Prince and read that again instead. The Cruel Prince follows Jude, who is a human girl whose parents were killed by a fairy, and she and her sister were brought back to the fairy world, and it's just kind of them trying to survive. And there's Cardan, which is the youngest, he's the youngest and wickedest son of the like king of the fairy, and there's some political stuff going on and a little bit of romance, and I do remember enjoying this one. The only downside, I've heard the series kind of goes downhill as it goes on, with not a lot of people enjoying The Queen of Nothing, which is the final bit of this series. But I do still want to read the second one at least and see if I'm not feeling this one, then I'll just be done with the series. But yeah, for that prompt, I will read one of these. And Xeria's race is she is an earthling, so the prompt for earthlings is to read something that has the element in the book title or features elemental magic. And for that, I'm going to pick Firefrost by Cornelia Longley. So this follows a girl from one kingdom who is going through another kingdom, and she's got like the only thing on her that can save her people, and she's trying to protect it. And we also follow a commander in the war, and things are kind of going south, and he ends up having to team up with this girl to try and like save the kingdoms and stop the war. And this features, I mean, it has fire and frost, which are two elements in the title, and the commander has like a fire type magic to him, so he's got that elemental magic as well. This was a Kickstarter. I got the whole series off Kickstarter. I read, there was the novella that's based, it's between this book and the second book. I did enjoy it, so I'm definitely, my only, I think, criticism with it was like, I wanted more, like I wanted it to be longer and actually get to know the characters. So given this is a full-length novel, sounds like I'll get what I wanted. And then if I have time, I probably won't, but if I have time, I had some library books come in that I want to try and get to. The first one is Horrid by Katrina Leno. This is about a girl and her mom who moved from California to Maine, to the mom's old childhood home after the father dies, and just a mystery happens. The girl is trying to settle in, and then she finds her mom may have a bit of a secret in the house that she's kind of unraveling, and we're not really sure what's going on. Next, I have Alatsue by Darcy Littlebadger. This is set in America where magic exists, and the country has been shaped by the kind of magic and customs and beliefs of all of its people, indigenous and otherwise. We follow Alatsue, who can raise the spirits of dead animals, and her cousin is killed in a town who's just kind of trying to stamp it down and keep it hidden, and she is going to do more than just pry into it. And in doing so, she's finding that that's not the only secret that the town has. This looks beautiful. I've heard absolutely nothing but good things about it. I think I've only ever seen it given 5 stars, so I'm excited that it finally was available for me from the library. I wish it had picked a different month when I had a shorter TBR, but this is probably the first one I'm going to try to get to of the library books. And the last book from the library is Raybearer by Jordan Ifweko. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So this follows, what was her name? Tarasai, who is basically an orphan that's being raised by a woman called the Lady. And when she becomes of age, she is sent to the kind of high city to compete against other children to be chosen to serve on a council. And the Lady has made a wish that she's kind of forcibly bound to kill the High Prince, but she doesn't want to, and it's kind of her figuring out, can she overcome that magic and defy the Lady's wish and win this competition and get the kind of close family bond that she's always wanted. This looks amazing. I have seen people raving about it since it was announced. I would finally like to get to it. If I have time, I plan on reading this one after Alatsue. Yeah, it just looks beautiful. I've really heard nothing but good things about it, and I'm excited to get to it. Are you going to be participating in the Magical Readathon? Are you going to be making this journey to Orilium Academy with me? If you are, tell me about your character down below. I can't wait to see y'all's TBR videos. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you loved them, if you hated them, if you're going to be reading it. If you're going to be reading any of these books as well, we can read them together. So with that, I will see you on the Novice path. You can like and subscribe if you would like to, and I will see you next time. Bye!